are in the first unit, first part review packet. And I've gone all the way, I believe this is if not the last one of the last questions for a free response question about this two-way table. All right, we actually just finished up our most recent unit. If you guys remember the chi-square tests, remember for tests for homogeneity and independence, the data, if they give it to you, will be in two-way tables. So this is going all the way back to chapter 3. All right, so the first thing I want to do before I start answering these questions is let's get some totals. So let's make another column here. Let's make another row. Let's get some totals here for the number. I know it says in thousands. I'm just going to ignore that. The numbers of officers and enlisted in each branch of the military. All right, so if you have your calculator, go ahead and start adding them up. We can confirm some of these numbers here. All right, so I'm going to go the first row. And I got 225. Okay, second row. $11.64. $540,000 from the Army. And I am going to get a grand total number. Remember, you only need to do either the totals from your row total or your column total. Don't do all of them. That's too much. You'll double count. But what I do if I'm doing this for real is I do both, and I just confirm they're the same. So this is my grand total. Now I just want to confirm I got that on the row as well. Okay, excellent. So I know my numbers, at least, if I'm wrong, it's more likely I'm correct that they match. Okay, any questions so far? This is just more to kind of set up the problem. Okay, now when you do these questions, is this right that you wanted to go, Carolina? Somebody wanted to go, right? Okay, thank you. The key thing when I do these questions is I try to figure out what's going to be my denominator. Okay, so it says calculate the percentage of military men and women who are enlisted. So what is going to be my denominator? Find letter A. Very good. It's the entire thing, right? We're talking about everyone that is serving. All right. And what am I going to put for my numerator?
All the people that are enlisted.
All the people who are enlisted, which in this case, I look at my total for that row, which is 1164. So now I can go ahead and divide to figure out what that percentage is. And I get 0.838. So 0.838. Or if you want to put it as a percentage, 83.8%. And this is going a long way back, guys. We're talking about in August. Any questions on the letter A? Let's do letter B. Calculate the percentage of military men and women who are not Marine Corps officers. All right, so first thing is, what's the denominator? The same thing, 1389, right? The grand total. Now, there's kind of two ways to do this, all right, because I do see that word not. All right, so one way to do it is to actually find the percentage that are Marine Corps officers and then do what?
Subtract it from 100%.
Some 1 or 100%. Yeah, you remember what that's called? No, finding the complement. Well done, Thomas, right? Finding the complement. All right, or you can just go, all right, let's just go Army, Navy, and Air Force. So it's up to you. on how you want to do it. How do we want to do it? Do you guys want to use the complement or no? I don't care. It doesn't matter.
I was going to use the
So
complement.
so then let's pick Marine Corps. Now be careful, it does say officers, right? So pick Marine Corps officers, which is 20, right? And then is this going to be my answer?
No.
No, I will need to subtract it from 1. So 20 divided by 1389. It should be pretty small. All right, so 0.014. Again, this is not my answer. I do need to find what is called the complement. All right, so 1 minus 0.014. My answer is 0.986. Or if you want it as a percentage, 98.6%. Any questions on B? I'm glad we did that way, Thomas, just so we can have a conversation about what the complement is. All right, let's do letter C. Letter C, calculate the percentage of officers who are in the Navy. So what's going to be my denominator for this one? Say it again, Diana. Sorry. Let's see, 225. Why'd you say that?
Because it says percentage of officers.
Very good. I agree with Diana, right? It says of officers, so I'm thinking that is going to be my denominator. Very good, Diana. If you guys remember how absurd I did this in August of 2022, right? I would read it as calculate the percentage of officers who are in the Navy. That's what I used to do back in August, if you remember that. All right, so then I look at just the Navy. That's 52 officers. Which gives me 0.231. So as a percentage, 23.1%. All right, how's everybody doing? Hopefully this isn't too bad, right? I know it's been a long time since we've done this, but I'm hopeful that you feel confident you can do this on the AP exam. I probably would say 1, maybe 2, like max 2 of having to do this. Okay, now for the last part, the hardest part. Right, and this is the hardest part when we did this in chapter 3. All right, essentially what we're going to do in letter D, it says show evidence and sentences to see if there is an association between career paths, so whether they are an officer or enlisted, and military branch, right? So this question is essentially saying, is there a relationship? Are they independent of one another, or is there a relationship going on? Right? Do you guys remember how I did this in August? Anyone remember how I did this? It's okay if you don't. I'm going to do it right now, okay? The way I taught you to do this in August was to pick one of the variables. So do you want to do career path? Do they call it career path? Yes. Career path, which is officers or enlisted, or branch of military. So pick one. Which one do you want to pick? Branch, that's fine. So if you pick branch, that means I'm ignoring the fact that there are people in these branches that are officers, that there are people that are enlisted. Okay? So let's first, let's kind of make a little mini table here. Does it go Army, Navy? Okay, so Army, Navy. Is it Marine Corps? And then what's the last one? Air Force, thank you. All right. So out of our total, what was it, 1389? Right? How many are Army out of 1389? 540, right? 540 out of 1389? So I'm going to do 540 out of 1389. How many are Navy out of 1389? 328? How many are Marine Corps? 198. And how many Air Force? 323. So I'm about to find these percentages. Do these percentages take into account whether a person is enlisted or an officer? No, right? So right now, it doesn't matter what you are in your branch. This is just the percentage of the entire military forces from each branch. So let's see. So 540 divided by 1389 gives us 0.389, so 38.9%. Same thing for Navy. $23.6. Marine Corps. 14.3%. And finally, Air Force, 23.3. I'm going to pause here. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right, so far, what's the only variable I care about? The branches, okay? So now, to determine if these are going to have a relationship or be independent, I need to now bring in the other variable, all right? And what is the other variable? The career path, whether they're enlisted or an officer. So here's kind of the way I try to teach it in August, right? If we chose the first variable was military branch, I looked at this table going by column, right? You guys see what I just did? So now when I bring in the other variable, I'm now going to think about reading this from the idea of by the rows, all right? So if I look at this officer row, all right, out of 225, how many are from each branch? Can I find those percentages? Yes. Can I do the same thing for out of the entire enlisted? How many are from each branch? All right. And what should I see when I look at those percentages? What should they be? They should be the same as these four here. Okay. So I'm going to make another table. So what was the first one? Was it enlisted or officers? So officer. And then the other one, let's do officer first. Okay. So how many officers are in our military forces? 225. All right. So out of 225, how many are in the Army? 88. Okay. Navy, 52. Marine Corps, and Air Force. What was that last one? 65. All right. So let's see what these are. %39.1%. %23.1%. That's about 8.9%. And the last one, 28.9%. Now, I'm going to do the next one. But guys, if I was doing this for real, I would probably have enough information to make a decision. How did you guys feel as I did the first two? Did you compare these as I did the first two? What do you think about these two here? Pretty similar, right? What about this next one? Pretty similar. But then I got to this one, and I was like, whoa, now we're talking about being over 5% difference, right? That's a big difference in my mind. Remember when I introduced this to you or taught it to you in August, I was really thinking like within a percent was what I'm looking at to be the same. You can get nitpicky and say, it has to be exactly the same. But I'm thinking within a percent, like these first two, I feel pretty good. Those are essentially the same. But when I got to the third one and then the fourth one, we're talking about being 5 percentage points difference. That to me is enough to tell me that there is a relationship. Remember, these have to match to have independence. Let's do the last one and see what happens for the enlisted. All right, how many total enlisted? 1164. All right, and how many in the Navy? Or excuse me, let me start with the Army. How many of the Army? 452. Okay, Navy? 276. The Marine Corps? 178. And the last one was the Air Force. What was it, 250?
258.
250. Let's calculate these. 0.388, so 38.8. Again, what do you notice about that one? Is that pretty close? It's almost identical. I'm guessing this one's going to be pretty close to 23.7. Yep. But here's where we had an issue last time. Let's see if it happens again with the Marine Corps. 15.3. That's actually pretty close. So I wonder if it's going to be the Air Force is the issue. Oh, nice. Not too bad. 22.2. It was like just outside of 1%.
So if you started with the listed, it could have gone badly.
Well, hold on. I don't want to say it could have gone badly. I think I know what you're saying. Like you would think that they're independent.
Yeah.
You would just have to do all the data, like do it all, right? The only reason I said I would probably stop here is because this is far enough away to tell me that there's a relationship. If I had done a listed first, these are not enough of a gap that I would definitely do the next one. So you just would take longer. All right. Now, I want to try to be very clear. I know it's difficult. We haven't done this since August. I'm trying to teach this again. It's a lot. I want to be very clear, right? This is our comparison row or percentages, right? All I care about is matching those four because these four right here, did they take into account anything that having to do with enlisted or officers? No. So the four that I highlighted are just out of the entire total values for our military branches coming from Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force. Okay? So again, these I'll highlight different colors. I'll just do green, right? The green ones I'm comparing to the yellow because the green ones have now taken into account the other variable, all right? And my conclusion here, which I'm going to write a sentence here in a moment, my conclusion is essentially, right, it looks like for the enlisted members of the military, could you say that the relationship between enlisted and the military branches is independent? Yes. But guys, unfortunately, it's not just enlisted, right? We have to include the officers. And when I see this, it looks like there's a higher percentage of officers in the Air Force and a lower percentage of officers in the Marine Corps than I was expecting to see. All right? So this right here is the issue that's causing there to be a relationship. All right? So I'll write some sentences now, and we'll be done. The percentages do not match. So there is a relationship between career path and branch. All right, and then here's where I'm going to say what I think that relationship is. All right. There is a higher percentage of officers in the Air Force and a lower percentage of officers in the Marine Corps.